All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another night of a open live stream where I am just here to kind of answer some of the questions. I did post a new video for my students here in toggle full screen. There we go. I did kind of post a new video for my students, so I wanted to make sure that I was also kind of available for, actually, I was calling this my office hours, I believe. Yeah, so either way, this is the day 2 of the office hours, which we originally got an email that we were only going to be out for school for 5 days, but it looks like the state of Florida, where I currently teach, has us being out until April 20th. So definitely some interesting times and some interesting things are going to be coming into place. Now, one of the things, though, that I wanted to kind of start off the stream, I am going to get into some questions. I did have some questions that people did go ahead and submit to me. Oh, no. Previously. And so I do want to go ahead and get to those questions as well for you guys. But it seems I have an excellent connection, so I'll take it. But I did want to kind of cover some of the initial ideas. I'm not seeing why. Okay. Actually, you know what? Let me do. Sorry, I'm just looking at my stream and making sure that everything is going through, and it looks like everything is all right. But I'm just wondering. It's not showing everything. Okay, there we go. Maybe I'm just trying to pop up my chat so I can see everything. All right, looks like there might be a little bit of a lag, but that's cool. All right, so what I want to do is I want to kind of start off. There we go. I see Anthony, Hairdrop Pedro, Melantez. Make sure. So good to see you guys. And I will, no, Pedro, I do not speak Spanish, unfortunately. I do not. And Jasmine, very helpful, happy to be able to help you out. So what I want to do is just kind of start the stream, just kind of giving you guys an idea of what I do inside the classroom, because basically my major concern, or at least the emails that I've been receiving from my students, has not been anything of like, how are you going to continue teaching? You know, what's going on? Because basically, my classroom is already set up as a online classroom. I take the idea of, showing up to the classroom and showing up to class to really get that kind of in-person experience for me to, basically perform the lesson and to have students kind of ask questions in person and work through things. My students put problems on the board and stuff like that. And I think those are all important elements of the learning journey for students. But if a student is gone, I had this, I remember a couple students that, kind of years back, they were gone for like a month, and they were like, what can I do to, follow like what's going on in class? And at that time I was still doing problems out of the book. And, then they had to learn on their own from the book. And I remember when I was in high school, that was something I had to do. And it was just like a horrible experience. So, now that technology has come so far, I made this decision about 2 years ago that I was like, I want to be completely removed or reliant on some other system. And so therefore, I basically teaching throughout my own process and with my own problems that my students on my own website that students have access to. And therefore, no matter, I'm still teaching at the same school that I originally was hired from out of college. But if I was to, go overseas or get another teaching job or whatever else, I would have all of that material with me. It's not something that, and of course, you obviously are going to adjust with the times. You're always changing lesson plans, and changing courses and, standards and everything like that. But I just wanted something that was mine, that I could a little bit control. And also something that, I never foresaw having a epidemic like we are having right now. But that was kind of something, I guess, maybe a little forethought of, if that is the case, if I had multiple students that were missing my class for extended periods of time, how could I continue to serve them? So basically on my website, I posted a video today. They have their homework already assigned to them. They have a video. Last year I created videos. If anybody was on my channel last year I did live streams for the homework assignments. So they already have a video from last year's homework that they can kind of work through if they didn't know how to do the homework or if they're still stuck. And then And then, yeah, so we're going to work through that. The only thing is I'm not really sure is how I was going to deal with quizzes and tests. So I am kind of looking into what our district is doing as well as what other teachers are doing. But basically everything that I have, all my videos are obviously uploaded on YouTube, but I also host those videos in an organized manner in my website, as well as post my homework where students can view all of the homework. They review all the homework answers. Everything is on my website. And therefore students, when they go ahead and enter into the classroom, they're basically getting the exact same notes, but they're getting like that real live instruction. And typically, as I kind of mentioned in another stream, which I forgot, in another stream, what was I going to mention? Oh, no, I forgot that. What I was going to mention in another stream is that actually I totally lost my train of thought because I forgot my charger. So that means my computer is going to die because it's really old. So I'll maybe come back to that. But I do have some questions, which I will kind of get to you guys in a second. What was I talking about? Talking about something on the live stream. And then, I don't recall. Richard's dad, go ahead. F of 2 is the exponent. So I do have some questions. I'll kind of get to those. Maybe it'll come back to me. Oh yeah, what I was saying is, and previously that, a lot of times I would teach my lesson and then obviously I create these notes. These notes are something that I like adjust from every year. And then what I'll go ahead and do is then I put them into the slides format. And from there, what I do is I just kind of like, adjust it and kind of based on how instruction with class went, how the interaction with the students went and everything like that, then I would finalize those notes and then record them. Well, it's a little different now because I don't have the students in front of me. So therefore I'm trying to do as much of that kind of legwork now before that. But I'm going to go ahead and get to some of your guys' questions that I saw in the chat before I get to these math problems. But before I do that, we're going to take a 2-minute break because I, of course, forgot my charger in the living room because that's where I've been doing a lot of my work today, trying to mix things up. So I will be right back. Sorry. All right, I am back in. I do apologize for that. I have a very ancient MacBook that is still just working for me. So I just, I feel really bad kind of pushing it to the limits because I do, live streaming and then doing a lot of videos I do. But she's just done such a great job. So I love it. So, all right, let me just kind of run through some of these older questions that I got through. And then I'll kind of get myself caught up to speed for what I missed from since I stepped out. And then we'll just kind of wrap it up for these math questions. I want to try to keep these streams, to roughly around 30 minutes. Sometimes I know I like to talk a lot and I go past the 30 minutes, especially once math questions start coming in. But I do want to kind of keep this just kind of a nice little informal. Ideally, it's for my students if they're trying to learn the certain concepts. So therefore they can ask questions. But so if I see a student, I'll make sure that I can address their questions on the work. But I realize that going live and at least making this a public live, that many of you guys are going to show up, which is awesome, which I appreciate very much as well. How can I change the mode on a graphing calculator? Hit the button mode, I believe. If you're using a Texas Instruments, at least there's a mode and you can just change it. I don't know what mode you're referring to, but maybe, at least in my class, we do a lot of radians degrees. Mixture Sex or May Atrox says, hi, question. How do you get good at math if you stated you struggled growing up? I don't really think I got good at math, but I think one of the things that I always enjoyed about math was I was curious about it. And so I always liked that learning portion of it. I didn't really enjoy it. I struggled with it. It didn't come easy to me. But one of the things that I've kind of found teaching math as well as doing all the math that I have basically done is that a lot of times it just takes your, where the understanding and learning math is not linear. All right. And I think a lot of times that for us to be able to, learn and make math, really learn math and be able to apply a lot of these processes is just to understand those connections. And not everybody is going to have the same experiences and connections to be able to really understand, certain concepts. So really, one of the things I think that helped me overcome some of my earlier struggles was one, just maturity. I really kind of realized, kind of later in college that I felt a lot more comfortable with the material. I just felt like I had a more mature brain. So, I think it was just very difficult as, trying to be in high school to really do all that stuff. I was in sports. I was doing all these other kind of things. I just don't think I was really ready for a lot of upper level mathematics, like the pre-calculus, calculus stuff. And then also just really a lot of practice. When I went into college, I had to just practice, because I didn't really learn a lot of that stuff. A lot of the stuff I kind of, faked it just to get by. And then, of course, I decided to become a math teacher. Then it's like, oh, crap, I actually need to know this stuff. And I actually don't know this stuff because I just faked it to kind of get by. So, those are some of the things I'd just say: practice and time, maturity, and that ability to be curious. You got to want to learn. If you don't care about anything, you don't want to learn, like it's very difficult to actually, improve. All right. I'm good, Anthony. I'm happy to help you out. I have a lot of Algebra 1 videos. I taught Algebra 1 for many, many years. And I'm going to, just FYI, guys, I did post on an email that, just kind of where all my videos are, at least on the playlist tab of my channel. So if that is something that you're not taking pre-calculus, which I'm currently teaching this year, but if you have anything from Algebra 1 to calculus, I have, in my playlist tab, I have a ton of videos, over 11,000 for you to choose from. I do have it organized, semi-organized into larger playlists that you can hopefully break down, and it's not designed to take you from A to B, but it really is there as just kind of like a resource, channel. All right. Do you believe that we are going to be taught through courses online? I don't believe teaching is going to go completely online, but one of the things that I think we are seeing though, is we're going to be forced. I think a lot of the colleges and high schools, and just educational institutions were resistant to really using online education on a large scale. It's obviously been something they keep on implementing and pushing, but I think now that we're seeing that, all these districts, you keep on hearing these teachers, they're ill prepared to teach students. Like that shouldn't happen. I think that, however students need to learn the information that we want them to learn, we want to make sure that that information is available to them and they can learn it on their pace. That kind of goes into, Khan Academy says this, it has been brought this up a lot, students learn at different levels. Like we force so many students, like you have to learn Algebra 1 or you have to learn Algebra 2 at this date or you don't graduate. And it's like, no, that's not how learning happens. That's not how, mastery of a topic or of a, skill is really ever taught. Like, students need that time to grow and to experiment and to learn and to ask questions and so on and so forth. And so online learning allows some of that flexibility. I think a big part of that learning environment though, is also the teacher as the mentor, as the guider. And, the one thing I was kind of laughing at, I haven't seen really any teachers complaining about, they canceled our testing schedule, for at least some of our state tests, which of course, like my grade, my evaluation as a teacher is dependent on. And I've seen a lot of students. I've had a lot of students that are emailing me very concerned about their grades, which rightfully so, there's scholarships and everything else that's on the table for them. I haven't seen one teacher complain about, that the students about their evaluation, meaning the students aren't going to do well. They're worried about what their evaluation is. And the reason is because like most teachers don't care about obviously, yes, teachers always want to do well, but they know that like their value is not really just on how students do well on this test. It's about helping the students and teaching them, which is not, a test is not always going to show. Yes, I'm not saying it's not correlated at all, but, I think that this idea of teaching students in this time period so we can take a test, so we can give them a number and we can compare them with other students is a model that is really just not fit any longer to really help us judge what we're doing in education. So it's an old model that needs to change. And unfortunately, it's not going to change on its own. It's going to take something like this, or it's going to take other, teachers, and other, schools really kind of changing this model and, or changing that model with, providing different educational opportunities. But I still think inside the classroom is going to be a big component. I don't think everything's going to go online. I think there's just too much benefit to the social interaction of students learning together, especially with the teacher. But I do see that this online is going to definitely embed itself into our educational program a lot more. All right. Yeah, I don't really know who some of the people, block sometimes that, or some other people, my wife will be a moderator, will block as well. So it really just kind of comes into there. Thedo Mateo said, thank you. I will appreciate. Well, thank you very much. I guess you're just a member and it shows me in the chat. So I appreciate that. And especially also appreciate the membership. Oh, geez. Yeah. Anthony. Yeah. So, and that's the thing. Like, Anthony says he has to teach himself 3 chapters of algebra. Like, I remember if I had something like that, it would just be like going to the book and like learning it yourself. And it's like, it's crazy to be able to do some of that stuff like that. So I think that's why the access to education is going to be something that's going to be continually growing. And also it's just, really to be that supplement. Therefore, if this does happen again, every single school and classroom can go to a pure online case, course. And hopefully that's just, be a short-term solution. All right. Now I'm trying to catch up into some of these chats, which got some of them. Looks like some of the, Bullet Creek. I'm not aware of Bullet Creek, Anthony, but I'm aware from Midland, Michigan, because I grew up in, outside of Ann Arbor, Michigan. All right. Where is it? All right, I switched accounts. Can you talk about triggering identities? Yes, I can, but that's a very vague idea. So if you can maybe give me something that you'd like me to kind of talk about. And Reptilian to ask me about geometric series. If you can maybe just kind of send me a problem next time so I can kind of look at it, just because I haven't taught. Oh, there is your super chat, Tateo. Thank you so much. But if you can maybe send it over to me, therefore I can just kind of like spend a little time just to like refresh my brain. So therefore I can make sure I deliver a good explanation for you. All right. Oh, I'm just saying, it's okay. Armando, that's a good question. Send that over to me, Armando, on the super chat. I just want to make sure I understand. I don't want to take everybody's time. Trying to like understand and write that, but send that over to me on my community tab. And again, for a lot of people that are joining to the chat, just take a quick little break because now I'm going to start getting into the math side. I am going live every single night this week. I did say until I go back to school, but I'm not sure. We'll kind of see. But yeah, I think, we'll just kind of see. Every single night I want to go live, and I'm really, doing this as kind of like my office hours for my students. I'm providing them with a lesson for them to learn from. And then also I want to make sure I'm available for them, but also for you guys, to answer your questions, see whatever you guys are doing. Cause I know some of you guys are also trying to learn from your teachers. Like your teachers, a lot of them are doing this for the first time too. So they're posting lessons. They're, maybe giving you worksheets or resources that you're now like trying to learn from math, trying to learn this stuff. So I just want to make sure I'm available, try to answer your questions. Obviously guys, I'm not going to be able to get to everybody's questions. I'm not going to be able to answer everything that's posted in the chat. However, if you post in the chat, there is a lot of excellent people that do post replies, or also just kind of let you know like where else to look, or maybe give you some like hints on what to look for. So I really do appreciate you guys helping each other out with that, because I'm just not able to get to everybody's. And then also guys, for the sake of time, it's, if you can also, try to be as specific as possible when you're typing in whatever type of question. So therefore I kind of know exactly where you're struggling and what to address. That's why I always talk when students are like, I don't understand the lesson, or I don't understand you, or I don't understand math. And it's like, well, come to me, because like when I can have a conversation, when like I know exactly where you're, struggling, then it's a lot easier for me to, phrase my questions and to really kind of dive deep into where it is, what you missed or what you're not understanding, and to be able to address that. But if it's just like something vague, for instance, trig identities, and again, no disrespect, is like, yeah, it's like, can you just do a lesson on that? Well, trig identities, I spent the whole lesson on that. I spent, an hour talking about trig identities. So to try to just nail something down here in the next like 30 seconds to a minute, I want to make sure I can do something that's going to be just kind of give you some value straight to the point. Because obviously I have like a ton of videos, already recorded on trig identities. So if you have something kind of, specific question or something I can address rather quickly, that is very much appreciated. But if there is something that you, also that I don't get to in this chat, please make sure when you guys go to my channel, you can go to my channel and go to the community tab. And under the community tab, you'll see that I have a post for you guys to post questions under there. So I look at all those. I respond to every single one of those comments. I'm hoping that it doesn't, not too many people post, but I do plan on every single time before I go live, I go and check those posts out. And if there's any additional questions there, then I'll make sure that I add them up. So you can see the questions actually I'm addressing here are actually from that community post. So they're from the last live stream, actually after I did the last live stream, and then they are some more community posts. So that's what I'm doing here. And I know I'm going to have way too many questions, and I do apologize, guys. I'm trying to need your help. Anthony, I will be calling that Vertex form, but Armando, I saw your question. Post that in the community tab just so I can make sure I write that out and look at it, but I can definitely do that for you. Anthony, I'm not sure what you want me to do. It's probably graph it, I'm assuming. So the Vertex HK, so the Vertex 4, oh, you're maybe asking for what the Vertex is? Okay. Thank you, Reptilian, for helping out. I appreciate that. Hi, Blake. Thato, thank you so much. Kapana, that's too many words for me to look at and read for me to see. But you can go ahead and put us in the community chat, and I can take a look at it a little bit more. But it's not something I'm going to be able to cover for the live stream. Oof. Good for you, Marilyn. It's awesome to hear. ACT canceled. I think the ACT would be canceled in my sake. That's going to that's going to go against, I think, everything the CDC is now recommending from there. All right. Magic Robot, good luck. Armando, I just want to go ahead and look at those problems. So I see it. Just send it to me on that community chat, and I'll go and look at it. Or if you don't do it, kind of like this other question that I have here, I will, just go ahead and just post it into the community chat, and then I'll just go and write it in there. I just want to make sure I spend time, have it written down there correctly, and therefore have it fully expanded out. And so, excuse me. But yeah, just make sure you go and do that, and I'll make sure I can cover it from there. And Samir says, hi, Mr. Brian. Well, hello, Samir and Kinsey. Awesome to see you guys. I just came to live. Well, that's very awesome. All right. So let's go ahead and get started with these 3 problems. So I wanted to kind of, actually, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's just kind of go with this. I think I can do this one for you, Armando. I cannot make. Well, that's okay, pianos. All right, let's just go and look at this. Let's see if we can do it. There's just a lot of parentheses here. So I don't want to waste everybody's time trying to figure this one out. It's raised to some power. I have no idea what that is. And then that's going to be divided by, oh, geez. Yeah. 9 here. I'm going to write this out, and then I'm going to have you b minus 2 to the 5th here. Okay. So I am going to expand that one out. And if you have something different, then you can let me know from there. Okay. But anyways, let's go back up to there because I do actually want to admit I made a mistake on last night's stream. I was reading through the questions and I did pose one where it's like, what's the distance between these 2 points? And I told the student to plug in 0, find those 2 points, and then take then you could find the distance. Well, if I would have like spent time and not trying to like rush through it and actually graph those, you would have realized that when you sketch like the graph and you see those 2 points, that is not actually going to be the distance between the two parallel lines. So to find the distance between the two parallel lines, we want to create another line that's going to be perpendicular to them. So I still took this point 0, 5, and I wrote a line perpendicular to that. So if it's perpendicular, that means it's going to have a positive slope of 1/4, and it's still going to have the y-intercept of 5. So therefore, my new perpendicular equation was y equals 1/4 x plus 5. Now, the point that we needed to find, we need to find the distance between this point and that point. So that point was 0, 5. This point I needed to figure out. So to do that, I needed to use my systems of equations. And unfortunately, by using systems of equations, this was not a very, very nice number. And I'm not sure if I made a mistake, or if they are taking a class where they're going to have some problems that are not very nice, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I just wasn't sure. I was like, I don't have time to kind of like go back, I checked it once and didn't see anything. So sometimes in this case, it's either I just made a simple mistake and that's why you're getting nasty numbers, or the nasty numbers are supposed to be there. It's not always supposed to be these nice, cute, fluffy integers. But again, now what you have this point, and then that point, you're just going to find the distance between those using the distance formula. But I kind of ran out of a little bit of patience here. I had some other things I was working on. But at least my process that I did last night's live stream was incorrect. And if I would have slowed down, then I would have seen that process, which is, again, another thing for students struggling in math is like slow down, right? All right, the next one is the vertex. A lot of vertex problems and completing the square coming up. So the student wanted to know how to find the vertex. So a couple different ways we could do this. Just a reminder, guys, the vertex. Let's see, 5. I can look something like that. Remember, the vertex goes through this line of symmetry. So remember, the line of symmetry is x equals opposite of b divided by 2 times a. So that's the line of symmetry. Okay, so the vertex lies on the line of symmetry. So one thing you could do is you could find the line of symmetry, which in this case would be x equals -3. And then what you could do is plug in -3 to find the y coordinate. So when you plug in y sub -3, you get -3 squared plus 6 times -3 plus 5. And therefore, that's 9 plus a -18 plus 5. So that becomes a -9 plus 5 is a -4. So therefore, you can say that y is equal to -4. So the vertex is going to be -3, -4. However, a lot of students also are kind of used to completing the square. But I want to do that for the Algebra 1 students. That's kind of one of the ways that we introduce them to finding the vertex. But then once we get a little comfortable with that, we can now work to completing the square. And again, the completing the square is going to be writing this in standard form. Now, I did this last night, so I'm not going to go over this again. But basically, our idea is we want to write a perfect square trinomial with 6. With our first two terms, these x squared plus 6x. And actually, this was in my lesson today. So I'm just going to do the general process, the b divided by 2 squared. So I'm going to take my middle term b divided by 2, which is 3, and square it, which is 9. Now, when I add that number 9 into my expression, right, I created a perfect square trinomial. Now, if I add 9 and then subtract 9, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I should rephrase that. Whenever I add 9, you got to remember this is an equation. You just can't randomly add a 9 to an equation without either adding it to the other side or subtracting it on that same side. But now I can simplify this to x plus 3 quantity squared minus 4. And now you can see, based on the understanding for the vertex in vertex form, you can see the vertex is going to be -3, -4. All right. Now the student did also ask how to find the x and y intercepts. This is also something I think I did last night. So just here, remember guys, the x-intercept is when y equals 0. So just plug 0, or I'm sorry, yeah. I don't know why that's not working anymore. Got to fix that. It's still y is equal to 0. So set y equal to 0 and then solve for x. Well, now we have a quadratic equal to 0. So we want to look to factor using the zero product property, or you could complete the square, or you could also do the quadratic formula. Thankfully, I chose a problem that was factorable. No, I did. Yeah, I did. Why am I doing a 3? This is really annoying. I got to change these shortcuts. So this would be an x plus 5 times an x plus 1. Okay, because 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. If you were to expand that out, you can see you'd get those answers. So my x-intercepts are going, actually, let's just do the 0. Oh, this is really annoying. I'm like so used to using my erase keys. And for some reason, they're not working anymore. But now we have a product equal to 0. So we have x plus 5 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. So therefore, solving, I get x equals -5 and x equals -1. Now, if I wanted to find the y-intercept, then I just make x equal to 0. And therefore, I would just have y is equal to, let's see, where is 0? So that'd be 0 squared plus 6 times 0 plus 5. And what you'll notice for polynomials is the y-intercept's just going to be your constant, which in this case is 5. The next one, for the inverse. So we do have a kind of an algorithm to follow for the inverse. If you call, if you have it in function notation, you swap f of x or g of x, with y. Then you can swap the x and y and then solve for y. Obviously, if you are into exponential, hopefully you've already been taught something about logarithms or the properties of logarithms to understand how to convert between those, because exponential and logarithmic functions are inverses of each other. So another way we can look at this is just remembering the graphs of a function and its inverse. So this graph is going to look something like this. And remember, the inverse of the function is going to be reflected about the y equals x line. So if this point is 0, 1, it's now going to be 1, 0. If previously it had a horizontal asymptote, now this graph is going to have a vertical asymptote. And if you're familiar with this graph, you would recognize it to be a logarithmic equation. But let's go through the inverse notation. So what I'm going to do is swap the x and the y. Okay. And now again, I need to solve for y, but y is as a power. So I got to get the y off the power. So what I'm going to do then is, if I remember my rules of logarithms here, if I have log base a of a to the x, then that just equals x. And I'm not going to get in depth into the rules of logarithms, but that is one rule that you're going to want to know. So therefore, that means we need to take the log of base 6 on this right-hand side to get the y off as a power. But you just can't take the log of 6 on one side. You got to take the log of 6 on both sides. So I have log base 6 of x equals log base 6 of 6 to the y. That is now going to be log base 6 of x equals y. And now we solve for y. And again, that is going to be your inverse of your function. So you can say, y inverse equals log base 6 of x. Because now we solve for y, and using inverse notation of that y, you can see from there. And I'm only 3 minutes past, so not too bad in this case. All right. So for the next example, I have a logarithm of now again, we don't know the base, so therefore we're going to, we can presume that it's going to be a base 10. All right. Now expanding is, we need to remember all these rules of logarithms. So I'm not going to go through them. I'm just going to hope and assume that you recall all these logarithm rules. So just to kind of make things out, the first thing that I'd recommend doing is breaking up this quotient into the numerator and the denominator, and make sure you're using parentheses and brackets. So using the rules of logarithms, I can break this up as to the log of a minus 2 times b plus 4 minus the log of 9. Let's use those parentheses again. Oh, so annoying. Just because I just want to see, just so you can see what's happening here. times the line 9 times, I'll just use parentheses even though you don't really need a parentheses around that, the b minus 2 to the 5th power. Okay, so that is the quotient property of logarithms for expansion. Now we can break apart the product of logarithms by using addition. So now I can break this up again and say, all right, this would be log of a minus 2 plus log of b plus 4. Oh, geez. All right, of b plus 4. Okay, now again, the next thing is though, we don't want to just subtract and now do the same thing here because we need to understand this whole expression here needs to be in my denominator. So again, I'm going to use brackets now to represent that this is going to be a collection, right? It's going to be an expression all of itself. So we're going to expand it, but we want to make sure we keep that expansion grouped together. That's why I'm inserting this bracket here. So this is going to be log of 9 plus the log. To save myself some time, you can take a power and write it down in front. 5 log of b minus 2. So the big mistake that people forget is they will not use this grouping. They will not insert these brackets. So that's why it's just very important to make sure you guys are staying up to date with them. So, all right, guys, I'm not going to do any more math for this, but if you guys do have some questions, Armando, I think you had a question, but I'm sorry for that if you do. Opposite b divided 2 times. Is that what I did? Opposite b divided by 2a? Yeah, okay. Samir says it's hard to pass. Hey, Milk PSS. Good to see you join in. It's raised to the 6th power. Okay, well, if it's raised to the 6th power, it's going to be the same. Oh, is everything raised to the 6th power? Is that what you're saying? I didn't check that. Everything's raised to the 6th power? Because then that's a really just easy thing from there. Jacob, I like that problem. That's not a problem I actually teach in class. So that's a good one to kind of cover. Oh, why were you not doing this? What's going on here? Okay. It's weird. All right. I'm going to do Jacob's problem just because that's one I haven't covered here. So let's just do that. That's a good question, Jacob. I like that one. So we have tangent, and look at what you guys are doing. You guys are making me do more math when I said I was going to be done for only 30 minutes equals -1. All right, let me seek on his question. Sorry, guys, I'm seeing some of these older questions that I missed. I'm sorry, I'm just not going to be able to get to them. Feel free to add them, guys, to my community chat. Feel free to add them to my community chat, guys. And then, everything is raised to the 6th power, it looks like. Or everything. Well, you didn't add an extra parenthesis there. Yeah, so that's why I don't like going through those problems. You know, there's just a lot of parentheses. Once I saw it, I was like, this is going to be difficult to try to write down. But either way, even if it was, raised, if this whole thing was raised to a 6, then again, you just include another bracket here, and you could bring that down in front from the beginning. So the first thing you could do is bring down that 6 and then expand everything out. So I'm assuming that's what you're asking, or that's what you're talking about. But either way, you can let me know if that is not the case. All right. No, Armando, you're not going to simplify because the base is 10. So you cannot simplify the log of 9 any further. No, because it's going to be the base 10 from there. Well, very, very happy to be able to help you out, Nicole. Thank you so much. Only the b plus 4 is raised to the 6. Oh, okay. Well, Oh, the b plus 4 is raised to 6? Okay, well, I'm not going to change the answer. I'm just going to go with what I had here. But again, you could just do the same thing. Then if the b plus 4 is raised to 6, then you put a 6 in front of that logarithm from there. So you just go from there. All right, let's just go ahead and tackle this last question. So they didn't ask, to solve it on an interval or all the solutions. So I am just going to, I don't know. Let's just solve all the solutions. So if I had tangent of theta equals -1, all right? So based on the unit circle, we can say when is tangent of theta equal to -1? Well, that's going to be here and here. So those angles, we can say theta is going to equal a 3 pi over 4. Jeez. I hate now like mistyping. Actually, now I realize I like mistype so many times. So this is going to be a 3 pi over 4. And Anthony, you're pushing it. Yeah, all right. I'll graph that, Anthony. I can do it real quick. Same thing I did last night on the live stream. But again, you have 3 pi over 4, which is that angle. And then you have theta equals 5 pi over 4. Okay, that would be that angle right there. So if we want to write these as all solutions, we could say theta equals 3 pi over 4 plus pi n. Because if you have this angle, you add pi, it's going to take you that answer, and you keep on adding pi infinite many times. Now, what do we do over here? Well, the interesting thing with this case is we're going to really solve it the exact same way. The only problem is instead of solving for theta, it's now going to be x over 2 plus pi over 4 is equal to 3 pi over 4 plus pi n, right? If this was just tangent of theta equals -1, we would have, theta, or what's inside the parentheses, right? You could put parentheses here. Whatever's inside the parentheses equal to 3 pi over 4 plus pi n. So what we're doing is just taking, all right, instead of writing theta, we're going to write pi halves plus pi over 4 equals 3 pi over 4 plus pi n, which is the same solution. Now we're basically just going to solve for x. So we'll subtract a pi over 4. That's going to leave me with a 2 pi over 4, which is pi halves, plus pi n. And now you can just multiply by 2 times everything. So x is going to equal pi plus 2 pi n. And if you had pi plus 2 pi n, I believe, yeah, we'd want to keep it from there. All right. Thank you. So let's just get into this last question, Anthony. There's a lot more complicated ways, Anthony, to do your problem. But again, one thing that I talked about is how to graph reply them. People are asking how to graph reply them. Well, I'm going to graph one of the questions. I'm not sure what else I've missed. But again, I can't get to every single question. But I am going to cover this one because it's very similar to what I covered last live stream. Was like, how to graph this. Now, again, you could use a table of values. You could find the axis symmetry like I did in the original problem at the beginning of the live stream. But that's not going to be a very nice number, right? Opposite of b, 7, divided by 2. So it's going to be like 3.5 or 7 halves. It's just not going to be a nice, or 2 times a, yeah. So it's just not going to be a very nice axis symmetry, and then you could plug that in. You could also complete the square to put it in vertex form, but again, you're going to be dealing with fractions. So majority of students, that's just not going to be an ideal way to graph this, and at least depending on it. I mean, obviously, if you need to graph it and you need to find solution points, then you're just going to have to get used to fractions and work your way through it. But the reason why I took on this problem is because I wouldn't use either of those solutions. And I've been teaching those methods a lot lately. So it seems a lot of students are having, obviously, trouble with them for good reason. They are difficult, right? It's difficult to kind of get used to them. But majority of the time when we need to graph something, if we needed to graph like something in detail, we'd use a graphing calculator. But a lot of times we just really need to see like the general shape of the graph and kind of typically either see like the intercepts or the vertex. And again, the vertex is going to be dealing with fractions, so it's not bad. You should know how to do it. But if I just need to like graph this, what I would do is I'd find the x and the y intercepts. So again, remember the x-intercept is when y is equal to 0. So I would just set this equation equal to 0 and see if I could solve it. Now, again, if I needed to like whip out the quadratic formula, I probably wouldn't use this method because that's not going to really give me some solutions that are very beneficial. It could actually, not too bad, because it could tell you if it's complex or not. And also sometimes it would But if it's going to be irrational, that's not really going to help you too bad. But in this case, I recognized, or I just kind of did my math in my head, and I say, oh, here's my two x-intercepts. So x-intercepts is x equals 5 and x equals 2. So 1, 2, and 3, 4, 5. So those are my two x-intercepts. If I wanted to find my y-intercept, I'm just going to plug x equals 0. If you remember in my previous problem that I did, it's basically just going to be the constant, which is 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now I don't know the vertex because, again, as I told you, that would be a fraction. That is a little bit more difficult to be able to do, which I don't have time for because I'm already now over 45 minutes, but that's okay. But again, I know that my A is positive, so therefore my parabola is going to be opening up. So it's going to look something like that. And again, our one unknown is going to be the vertex. But again, you could practice completing the square or using an Algebra 1 method for you on that. All right. And Starflight said, this is sort of random, but in my area, state testing got canceled. But you have been the only reason I passed the EOC since my teacher sucks. So I'm sorry to hear about that, but I'm so happy my videos and have been able to help you out. So, and good work for you of putting the work in. That is another big component to be able to learn that math is, putting in that work. Mark says, will you be teaching virtually next week through Duval Homeroom? I have no idea what Duval Homeroom is going to look like, how that is set up. Supposedly we're going to have all of that information on Friday. So I will do the school and district requirements that I need to do. However, everything that is, kind of as I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, everything that my students need is going to be on my website, just as I do. So whatever Duval Homeroom is going to add, I'm hoping that will just allow a little bit for like submitting some assignments or like, retakes or whatever else may be the case. I'm not really sure. I have no idea what it looks like, but yeah, I'll probably like cross post stuff from my website as well as onto there just to make sure I'm satisfying whatever requirements, as a teacher that they're going to ask of me. But as far as like what I do on my website is going to be the exact same that I've done throughout the rest of the year. So therefore there's really not going to be a discontinuity of the learning for my students. So you'll know exactly what to expect, when to expect it. But yeah, this Dual Homeroom is going to be new for me. So we'll go from there. But as far as on live streams, I will be live. I am going to still go live, guys, every night at 9 p.m. And I will do that. I'm honored to do that this week. And then I will probably just continue doing it. I don't know. It's fun for me as long as I can maybe shorten the live stream. So like 30 minutes and not 45 minutes every time. But either way, I do enjoy it. And then again, each week I'll probably, or at least this week, guys, if you do have questions I didn't get to, because I know I saw some of you guys posting those questions. Always feel free to add them into the chat. I did take, some of your guys' questions in there. But again, if I didn't get to your question, or if you have something that's a little bit more detailed to type out, put it on the channel or the community chat, and I will be able to look at it and respond to you there. So, all right, please do a video on applications of derivative. I do have that. I actually have a whole playlist on applications of derivatives from when I last, I know, Mark, I was talking to you in like the third person or for whatever else. I don't know why, but yes, I know you're a student from on there. I don't know why I was just talking in generalities about you, but yes, hopefully everything I at least talked about is made sense. If not, you can always email me. And yeah, so I think that is going to be it, guys. So I will be live tomorrow night at 9 p.m. And then also we'll still be doing my open Q&A every Sunday night at 9 p.m. So all those things, guys, are not going to change. But otherwise, I will be signing off for tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow. All right. Have a good night. Cheers.